I'm at a loss for words at this point. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say. Welcome back, Michael Cohen, Sports Talk Nation. It is officially official. Pete Alonso is now a former member of the New York Mets as he leaves for the Baltimore Orioles. 5 years, $155 million, a $31 million a year AAV. And I'm both annoyed, from the Met fan standpoint, both annoyed and saddened, but also yet not surprised. And really the first thing I think about before I get into this, I don't have kids at this point. I think about the fan who is around my age, who has kids, who are, little kids, like 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old kids. And they have to now explain to their son or daughter that two of the best players the Mets have had in recent years, in recent memory, and the man who is the leader all-time in home runs in Mets franchise history will no longer be on the team. Imagine what that conversation has to be like. That's horrible. What a little kid, think about that for a second, what little kids are going through right now, knowing their heroes, on the baseball field, aren't going to be there next season. And you think about that, David Stearns and Steve Cohen. You both have to think about that. And you both have to live with that. Because now the Mets have no choice now. And we knew that, look, I understand that they weren't going to go more than 3 years on Pete Alonso. They want to change the look of the team. I get that. This team is now fully in rebuild mode. I don't want to hear about, you add this guy, and you add that guy, and you add this, and you add that, and you could be competitive again for a championship. This is not a championship team right now. This is not a championship build right now. This team is, forget World Series, forget championships, forget playoffs. This is a rebuild. This is a rebuild. How do you replace a player like this? It's one thing to say, okay, you lose Edwin Diaz, you got Devin Williams, you sign maybe a Roberto Suarez, who the Mets are considering, and maybe your bullpen is okay. All right, that's one thing. But to replace Pete Alonso with his 264 lifetime home runs, I understand he's not Keith Hernandez at first base, which I've said 1,000 times. I get it. But to replace this kind of player, both offensively and in the clubhouse, and even Edwin Diaz from his presence on the field and in the clubhouse, Brandon Nimmo, his presence on the field and in the clubhouse, how do you replace those guys? It's going to be a totally different team. So it is now on David Stearns and Steve Cohen to figure this out. They got to. I see the tweets here by Anthony DiComo saying that the Mets never engaged in talks with Alonso, didn't engage with talks with Alonso, and then we saw the report yesterday that they were steadfast, not going beyond 3 years. Are you kidding me? I understand you don't want to put sentimentality into certain things. I totally understand that. You want to be rational, but when you have a chance to bring back your own players, and you talk about spending like the Dodgers, and you talk about being a World Series contender, and you talk about family, and talk about all these things that have been going on with the Mets and Steve Cohen over the last 5 years, and this is the end result, that you're having a complete and total teardown. And up to this point right now, in the offseason, and granted there's a lot of offseason left, you have no answers, except that this looks like it's going to be a very young team out to prove itself with two very, very well-paid cornerstone players in Lindor and Soto. Doesn't look good. As far as Alonso is concerned, look, I don't blame him for taking the money. I don't blame him. He's been wanting to be paid one of the highest first basemen for quite some time. We've been having a stance for well over a year with him, and he tried to get a big contract last year, whether it had been from the Mets or someone else. Remember, at the time, the Giants and the Blue Jays were involved in that discussion, and he couldn't get it. Ended up taking the one-year deal for $30 million in arbitration from the Mets, and, of course, he ended up having an even better year in 2025 with the 38 home runs. So it was only a matter of time before he ended up leaving this team to get a better contract because the Mets had showed no inkling to giving him a long-term contract. It isn't just a thing now. It's been going on for well over a year. So he takes the money, he takes the big contract. I thought he was going to go to the Red Sox. He ends up going to the Orioles instead, and he is going to tear apart Camden Yards. And you know it in a 9-out. He's going to hit 60 bombs probably this year for the Orioles because of the small ballparks in the AL East, both in Baltimore. He'll then have to travel to Yankee Stadium and Fenway and even Tropicana Field. He'll be hitting bombs all over the place. So I think he's going to have a big year in Baltimore. And as far as the Mets are concerned, well, I guess we're going to see Mark Vientos and somebody else at first base. Maybe Brett Beatty. Maybe somebody who's a free agent right now, kind of a lower-rung free agent. I don't know. Maybe the Mets do get Cody Bellinger away from the Yankees, and he can kind of play a little bit of platoon in left field and at first base. That's what you're looking at. I see these things by Met fans saying, well, let's go get Kyle Tucker, let's get Bellinger, trade for Skubal from the Detroit Tigers, their top pitcher. Are we sure the Mets are going to do that? Are you sure the Mets are going to do that? From what we have seen from the blueprint of David Stearns so far this offseason and really over the last year plus, Mets are not a big spending team right now. Are they going to all of a sudden trade all top flight prospects? Let's say like a Brandon Sprout and a Jet Williams over to Detroit for Tariq Skubal? Maybe they will. I don't know. That would certainly excite some people in the fan base, but I have my doubts. I have my doubts that a lot of this is going to happen. They're going to sign some players. They're going to sign some quality players. There's no question about that. But the thing is, the fan base is right now. The fan base is at its breaking point. The fan base can't take this anymore. They feel that they have been let down by this owner. They feel they've been let down by this front office. And you can certainly understand why. When popular players, good players, these aren't just popular players because they're popular because they're good. They produce. They've won games. And that's the thing I can't stand seeing online. Well, the Mets didn't win with these players. They got to the NLCS just last year in 2024. Okay, 2025 was a down year. They fell apart in the second half of the year. They won 101 games in 2022. They won 89 games and then made an incredible run to the NLCS now going on 2 seasons ago in 2024. Okay, they didn't win a World Series. 29 other teams can make that same argument that they didn't win a World Series. The Toronto Blue Jays can make that same argument. They didn't win a World Series. I mean, give me a break with that. These were good players. They produced. They had big moments. They had big games. There was something going on there. Something not good has been going on there with the Mets, with Stearns, the players, the coaches, and it isn't good at all. And what we're seeing is now a complete teardown, and it looks like we're heading for a full rebuild. And it's certainly very sad to see that this is how this one chapter of Mets history is closing, and a new one, unfortunately, is being like the bandage being ripped off, and it's starting all over again. Maybe the future will be bright with guys like Carson Bang. Maybe it will be bright with, Noah McLean and Jonah Tong if he's still here, if he's not traded. Maybe it will be. But we have to see it happen first. They have a lot of work to do. They have their work cut out from them right now due to the New York Mets and David Stearns. They have got to show, and they got to show something, that they are going to put together some kind of team that can be not just competitive, but can win games. I have nothing else to say other than that. We'll talk to you next time.